Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Marketing Meetup webinar. And I hope you all had a lovely bank holiday weekend. I feel like I'm waking from a slumber that lasted about 10 years, it feels like. So it's amazing what 3 days can do. Thank you all for being here. And as always, do pop in the chat box where you're watching from. And don't forget to switch it to all participant and attendees. All panelists and attendees, so everyone can see your message too. Today our guest is Jordan Harry. Jordan is the CEO of Study Fast, and he's also got the official title of Honcho at School of Marketing, which who actually knows what he does there, but in either case, Jordan's mission is to educate people, whether that's through Study Fast and teach people better ways to learn, or at School of Marketing, which is an amazing organization, which also helps marketers from across the world learn too. I was looking back in time on the history of Jordan and the Marketing Meetup and realized this is actually the 5th time that he's spoken at the Marketing Meetup, which is amazing. You know, it's so brilliant to be able to do this in the virtual world, but also in the physical. So previously we've had Jordan speak in Cambridge, Birmingham, London, Norwich, and now, of course, online. He's naturally charismatic, and the man never fails to impress. Whether it's his physical achievements through his long and triple jump careers, I guess we can call them, and also his MMA upstart career now, or his sort of more mental achievements, which is 2+ million views on his TEDx talk, or just being an absolutely lovely human. Whatever it is, I am a fan of Jordan Harry. Today's session is relevant because hopefully everyone watching this talk has a brain. And while we all focus on the physical health of things, we rarely ask ourselves the questions of what we can do to improve the health of our brain. In this session, we're going to do something about that. By the end, hopefully you'll leave with 10 ways to improve your brain health and also give you a framework on how to remember them. There is also a giveaway. Jordan will also mention this in his talk as well. So Jordan's going to be giving away access to some of his courses. And all you need to do is you need to go to LinkedIn and share that you're on this call, or after the call that you're on the call, and tag Jordan and I in, and we will pick 3 winners from among those that have posted. Today's session will run as a presentation and then a Q&A, although now is the time as ever to get your questions in, although you can also get them in later on as well. As ever, I just encourage you to stay positively lovely. We're here to look after each other. Also, please don't forget to use the thumbs up feature in the Q&A feature. That makes it easier for me to pick the questions from the top. And as I've already mentioned, do use the chat box, but don't forget to switch it to all panelists and attendees. Otherwise, only Jordan and I can see it. And, you know, we'd love you all to be chatting with each other for the duration of the talk as well. Finally, I want to thank the sponsors. Many of the folks on the call, no doubt, have been to Marketing Meetup webinars already by now, Marketing Meetup events. So you know this part, and you know that it really is something that's really important to me and should also hopefully be important to anyone watching. All these sponsors have been absolutely unbelievable, and they allow us to do what we do. You've had the sponsors noted to you in the pre-email that I sent last night at 8:33, and you will get it after the list after this session as well. If you haven't already, please just do take the time to thank them. I appreciate that with sponsorship, you know, if we're speaking in pure marketing terms, then it's going to be a top of funnel thing. You know, we're making you aware that these people exist and that they're supporting the community. That being said, if we're able to show to them, you know, that they're appreciated, then, you know, that's always just such a lovely thing to do. At the end of the day, they're human beings. So just give a huge thanks to Content Cow, Fiverr, Redgate, Cambridge Marketing College, Lido, Brand, Further, Third Light, and Human. You have listed there what they do in the email, and you have the opportunity to say hello to them on LinkedIn. That would be really, really appreciated if you would take the time to get in touch with them. So that's my introduction over. So I now get to pass over to the very lovely, very talented Jordan Harry. Over to you, my friend.
Hey, Joe, you're £5 in the post for that. Ironic as well, as it's my 5th time. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Hey?
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
You'd like to think so, right? You'd like to think so. Fantastic. Well, buenos dias, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Feels like a long slumber. And I'm excited to hopefully wake everyone's brains up this morning. So, Joe, just checking with you. You can see my screen okay?
All good, mate. Got you.
Fantastic. Now, I won't be able to see the chat whilst I'm presenting, but there will be moments where I can pop into the chat and hopefully engage with you all. Welcome, Corey, though. I see it's your first time, hopefully the first of many. And we're going to make sure there's time at the end for you to pick my brain. Of course, Joe, if there's anything urgent and you want to just interrupt me, jump in, feel free. And with that being said, we will jump in. So, a quick overview of what's to be covered, because I always feel like it's good to know where we're going over the next 30 to 40 minutes. So first of all, thank you for spending your time with myself and Joe this morning, because time's one thing you can't get back, but we're glad that you're wasting it with us. So the first thing I'll be doing is introducing myself, because once you've got context of the speaker, you'll then be able to either relate and also apply what's coming later on. But I also want to see how much you do and don't know about memory. So we will be debunking myths. So we'll see who's competitive within this community. And as I promised at the end, I'll be sure to give you all time that if I don't cover a topic on memory, learning, study habits, or speed reading, your chance will come at the end. So, my story. Whenever I talk, I love to pay homage to this woman, the woman that changed my life, because when I was 10, I never used to sound this posh, and because I used to have a speech impediment. Now, as much as that was a bane of my life as a 10-year-old, this woman saw that I had a problem, and she took me to speech therapy for many weeks on end, for many months, until I was able to articulate myself like I can today. However, as much as this woman helped me, I realized there were two things education wasn't helping me with. One was how to improve my memory, and arguably in education, it's a memory game. And number two, the ability to improve my reading speed. Now, it's interesting because when we're in education, subjects like English, science, maths, as the years go on, they get progressively harder, more difficult, increased levels of information. Yet our reading speed is kept the same. And many of us haven't had a class called reading since the age of 12. So, being the young, bright, initiative man I was, I created Study Fast. Now, not at this age. I started Study Fast 5 years ago. When I was in the first year of university, I realized not only could I help myself, but I could help other students. And eventually I started to help my teachers. Because within 1 year, I improved my reading speed 7 times faster than the average person. That's 1,500 words per minute. I know, a very geeky fact. With an 83% comprehension rate. Because it's all great reading fast, but if you can't understand it, it's useless. Now, although it started with myself, it definitely doesn't end there. Because over the past 5 years, we've taught over 20,000 people how to learn anything faster, from martial arts, language, names, numbers, scripts, the list goes on. And it's grown beyond me. Because although I may be modest and talented in some areas, language learning is not my forte. Estoy aprendiendo español, pero it takes me a long time. And so we actually have a language learning expert. And with the use of technology, especially now more than ever, we've taught people from 147 beautiful countries. I never thought I'd be a memory and speed reading coach when I was 10, but here we are today. Now, enough of me talking for just a moment, because I want to see how much you know or don't know about memory. Now, Joe, having, of course, heard me speak 5 times, it's probably the first time he'll see these ones. So we'll see how he gets on. So debunking myths. Very simply, I'm going to show you 3 statements. If you believe the statement to be true, type in number 1 in the chat. If you're not sure and you think, oh, there's not enough evidence, type a number 2. And you think, Jordan, that's absolute rubbish, type a number 3. I won't be offended. So if that sounds simple enough, we will get started. So the first statement, it takes 20 seconds for a piece of information to enter your long-term memory. Let me know now in the chat what we believe this to be. And Joe, you're going to be my glamorous assistant and let me know what's the majority saying. Have we got 1s, 2s, or 3s? 20 seconds is a short time.
Yeah, I think we're getting a pretty even split, possibly skewed towards 3s.
Wow, no one really has faith in me. You think I'm selling you lies on the first statement? That really hurts me. But I wouldn't do that to you, because if you left the masses and you sway towards 1, you would have been spot on. It only takes 20 seconds for a piece of information to enter your memory. If Joe can remember, you never forget anything you remember. You never forget anything you remember because you never remembered it in the first place. So often you'll meet someone at a function, they'll remember your name, now you feel awkward, and whilst they're talking to you, these little hamsters in your head are running around looking for that piece of paper with their name. And you'll ask questions like, oh, when did I last meet you? Hoping that gives you a clue for your hamster to go find that name in your head. And by the end of the conversation, you leave, you go to your car, and it was Joe. He's the organizer. Of course. How could I have forgotten? But remember, we don't forget anything you remember. It's more of a question about how fast can you retrieve the information. And I'm going to help you with some strategies today to look into that. Next one. So let's see if we can get some points on the board. Memory training can reverse the effects of brain diseases, such as dementia and other forms of Alzheimer's. So again, in the chat, type in number 1, 2, or 3. And my glamorous assistant, Joe, will take a look.
Getting a strong 1 vibe here, I'd say.
I don't wonder if there's tactics to that. Because when you're in a chat environment, it's very easy to then just let everyone go first.
So I don't know. I think even the new ones coming in, or even to start off with, I'd say the first 5 seconds was an explosion of 1s. So
okay, I'm impressed. Well, optimistic nonetheless. And if you chose 1, and I wish it was true. However, there's not enough evidence right now. So if you said number 2, you were spot on. Now, although there's not enough evidence right now to say it can reverse it, brain training, such as learning a new language, learning a new skill, can offset these brain diseases. And not only can it offset them, the earlier you start in your life, the more likely you are to prolong them. So hopefully with time and science, we'll see how we can reverse the effects of brain diseases. So I'm hopeful, I really am. And finally, we're going to split the men and the women on this final one. I love doing this. Studies have found that only women can multitask. Now we're going to see if we're going to have some modest women in here. But number 1s, number 2s, or number 3s. Fellas, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, okay?
Strong 3 vibes coming through.
Ooh, some very modest women. And it's an interesting one because when we think about multitasking, we believe we all can and that we do it all the time. So why is it gender specific? Do you think you're pretty good at multitasking, Joe?
Well, I can tell you that I'm trying to read and speak at the same time, and I'm probably doing a substandard job at both. So
yes, yeah. No one can. I like that. Moretz, that's an awesome answer. And it's an awesome answer because you are spot on. There's no such thing as multitasking. And I'm sorry to say to the men and women who believe they can, it just simply isn't true. Because there's near enough impossible tasks where you can give 100% cognitive effort to both. As Joe perfectly demonstrated, that you can either read at 100% and not talk, or read at 70% and talk at 30%. And this happens all the time. And don't get me wrong, women are better task switchers. So women are much more effective at switching from one task to the next task without attention residue. I'm gonna give you little knowledge bombs for you to go research. Attention residue, it's a real thing. And it's this concept where you are doing one task. Let's say you're on Facebook, checking your messages. You see some bad news. You then see the time you have to get back to work. But your attention, there's a little bit of residue still from seeing the Facebook messages, and your mind is still on the bad news from the Facebook messages. So it takes you a little bit longer to get back into the groove, into your flow of work. So women are much more effective at, cool, that was Facebook message, I'm back to work now, that's done, that's over. Men, however, we struggle. There's no easy way to say that. So hopefully some good news for the women watching us this morning, that yeah, they are superior than men when it comes to task switching, but no one can multitask. So hopefully already you've learned something new. But what's my promise today? Because you've all given myself and Joe 30 minutes of your time, which you'll never get back, as a cynical reminder. And I want to make sure we make the most of it. Now, the bad news is you're not going to be like Neo from the Matrix. I wish I could give you a digital download which upgrades your memory just like that. Although Elon Musk, with his Neuralink, if anyone's seen that, we're not far off. But one thing we all do need to pay attention to is all learning is state dependent. All learning is state dependent. And what I mean by that is if I ask Joe to sit as if he's ready to learn something new, and if we all watch Joe's body language when he finishes writing, there you go. Joe sits up naturally. And don't worry, we didn't script this. And I hope before I asked Joe to sit as if he was ready to learn something new, he was. And this comes back to our environment, not just our mindset, but how we actually approach information. Because if it's important, you'll remember it. So I really, really do hope that if any of you are on here, you're here to improve your memory. Please put yourself into that mindset that this is important. And that for the next 20 minutes, you will give myself your attention. And I promise you, you'll learn something new. But before we do that, how can I improve your memory if I don't know how good or bad it is? So this is where everyone's heart rate increases a little bit, because we're going to do a memory test. Woo! I don't think anyone is excited to do a memory test, not even the memory coaches I work with. Instantly, your heart rate increases. And because this physiological response, your prefrontal cortex, the front part of your brain, that is the control panel, it switches off. So we're going to take a moment just to relax. And I need you to grab a pen and paper. Okay, so whilst I imagine people scurrying about, getting ready for work and now looking for pen and paper, I'm going to present to you 30 words. You don't have to remember them in any order. I will not be given half marks, because I know there's always one cheeky person who asks. And your job is, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, to remember as many as you can. Now you can write all of them down and you can do your own strategies to try and remember them. But after the 2 minutes, I need you to go to a fresh piece of paper, get rid of your workings, and recall as much as you can. Okay, so again, 2 minutes. to remember these 30 words. After 2 minutes, get rid of that piece of paper which you were practicing on, and then it's the real deal. All right. Awesome. Joe, are there any questions in the chat before we get started?
All good, mate.
Fantastical. Fantastical. So we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, begin. So 2 minutes to remember this. Are you going to take part, Joe? Okay. Let me not interrupt you then. Just coming up to halfway. Just under 30 seconds. Not to add any more pressure. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Okay, so get rid of that paper or whatever workings you were doing, put it out of sight, out of mind. And this isn't going to be timed. On a fresh piece of paper now, or on a device, type as many words as you can remember in any order. Okay, so take your time, write down everything you can remember. And I can now see the chat, so if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. But no questions is a good sign at this point. If you look really closely, you can see Joe's brain working. You just see the top of his scalp just moving. So let me not put anyone off. So remember, any order. We'll see if anyone makes up any words. And when you're finished, just type a number 1 in the chat, just to let me know. Awesome, thank you, Alistair. Brilliant. Slowly seeing some ones come in. Don't let that intimidate you, Joe. If anything, it's a good sign, Joe, that you're still writing, right? And watch where Joe's looking, everyone. He's looking upwards. And there's some real science behind that. Because when you look up, you generate more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. You'll notice whenever people forget, they'll look upwards. So your body knows what to do. Thank you, Francesca, Stacy, they're all coming in. Brilliant. Looks like the majority are finished, including Joe. Fantastic. You can now stop with the ones because we're going to move on now. So I do apologize if you needed more time. But remember, this was only the baseline test. So almost it doesn't matter if it's a low score because we want to see a big improvement. So Joe, how confident do you feel?
I feel reasonably confident of my 16.
Okay. Not bad at all. Now let's see how spot on you were. So everyone, if you now want to check what you got, did you get 16 out of 16 or did you make up a few? And know if you got like, I don't know, lecture hall, but it was lecture. No, it has to be lecture. Okay, no half marks here. We can't be sloppy with our memory. Okay, I see the chat exploding. Let's see if we've got some disgruntled customers. 16 out of 16, well done, Claire. 8, oh dear, don't whine, Tonya. I need help. Don't worry, we've still got some time to help you. 11 out of 17, 20. Wow, Sammy. Sammy, you don't need this. Go back to work. Brilliant. Okay, we're seeing quite a range. We're seeing 16 as an average so far. Got some 10s. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing, everyone. 23 out of 23. Kat, okay, I've got my eye on you. Joe, do you need any more time to check your scores? Awesome. Everyone, Joe's going to be the gauge for how fast we go through this, by the way. So you can blame him afterwards. So in the chat, write down your baseline score. And what we'll do, we'll save the chat and we'll hopefully see the improvement. But also write your score down on a piece of paper, whether it's your notebook or device, where we can come back to it in just a moment. How are we doing for time, Joe?
We've got about half an hour left of the session. So if we want some Q&A as well, then we have slightly less than that. But
fantastic. Imagine if I ended it here. Just like, there you go, everyone.
Yeah.
You need memory.
nice memory test in the morning. See you later.
That's right. Well, attentional blink, that's something Matt highlighted. I didn't know about attentional blink. So I love this because I'm always learning myself. So thank you for that. So now on to the good part. So unfortunately, Sophie left us. So she's missed all the goodies. But if you've stayed, well done. Because now we're going to get onto the 10 habits that will improve your memory and your brain health. So we're going to slowly go through this, breaking down each one. Okay, and again, feel free to take notes. And if I go too fast, leave a question in the Q&A feature, and we'll find chance to get to it. So the first one, healthy eating. Common sense, but it's not common practice. But if we go a step further, because we have to take a holistic approach when it comes to improving our brain health. Now, I see Joe's got a cup of coffee, I assume. Yeah, not to make himself conscious. Well, when you get thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Okay, let that sink in. When your physiological response for needing hydration kicks in, which is first, dry mouth, you're already dehydrated. And at that point, your cognitive function has already decreased by an average of 30%. Now, of course, you won't notice that because it will just feel normal. But what's scary is everyone can get used to feeling tired because that's the norm until one day you feel refreshed. You're like, wow, this is what it feels like. It's the same with staying hydrated. You need to be taking intervals of taking in some sort of fluid. Water, of course, is preferred. But the key takeaway message for healthy eating is when it comes to hydration, drinking when you're thirsty is too late. So you need to build a habit of making it easy to stay hydrated. now, the majority, let me not make a sweeping statement, should have access to water in arm's reach. Okay, so it's really key that we do at intervals. When it comes to healthy eating, we'll talk about omegas in just a moment and fishy oils. But we're going to move on to mindset. Reducing ants. Ants probably mean nothing to everyone here, at least in the acronym format. Ants, for anyone who studies psychology, stand for automatic negative thoughts. That's automatic negative thoughts. Our brain loves acronyms. We love to take new learnings and attach them to pre-existing learnings. We all are familiar with the word ant, so we're able to attach this new concept to a pre-existing one. So how do we reduce these automatic negative thoughts? Well, number one is you need to acknowledge them. One which many of you may or may not have had when you came to this is, oh, I have a bad memory. I need to be on this. Or I have a bad memory. This isn't going to work for me. And probably after the memory test, you realize, yeah, I do have a bad memory. Right? But no one has a bad memory. You either have a trained or untrained memory. Unless you've been diagnosed otherwise, no one in this virtual room has a bad memory. Impossible. You all remember to show up to this, with Joe nudging you along the way. But you all remember to show up. So you don't have a bad memory. So an automatic negative thoughts are things like, I have a bad memory. Well, the first thing you need to do is acknowledge it. The second one is you need to reframe it. And when I say reframe, not paint this beautiful picture that you have a good memory, because then you would be lying to yourself. But instead, ask yourself an interrogative question. Bob the Builder was the best at doing this. I love Bob the Builder. He was a memory champion and psychoanalyst without even knowing, because Bob always asked the audience, hey, can we fix it? And 10-year-old Jordan would be screaming at the TV with his list. Yes, we can. My list still comes back if I want it to. So when we realize we have a negative thought, the number one thing is we need to acknowledge the negative thought. Number two is we need to reframe it. And we need to reframe it by asking ourselves an interrogative question. How can I improve my memory? Why is my memory bad? Because the better questions we ask ourselves, the better answers we'll have. And one of the best questions I've ever heard is Will Smith asks himself apparently every day, how can I make this moment more magical? Could you imagine if you lived your life day by day, moment by moment, asking yourself, how can I make this moment more magical? Whether it's going to the post office, a mundane task, but asking yourself, how can I make this moment more magical? And your brain will find the answer. Ask the cashier how their day is. Your brain is a problem solver, but you need to ask the questions to reframe it. Next, brain vitamins. Now, as a disclaimer, I am sponsored by an awesome brain supplement company called Your Heights. And it's a tiny little pill, a smart supplement with a number of ingredients to improve your brain health. So there are brain supplements out there on the market. Of course, do your research. One that I use is called Your Heights. So if you do a little Google search, Your Heights, give the company a nice thorough research. The CEOs are super open. You can connect with them. Because like anything, supplements are not essential. The key word is supplements. I know I've got brain vitamins on there. But supplements are there to supplement your diet. So if you're not eating enough fish, and you're not getting enough omega-3, 6, or 9, that's where a supplement can come in. Blueberries are fantastic antioxidants for your brain. They can actually reverse your brain's aging process. Blueberries. So if you're starting your morning with blueberries, well done already. But you can see there, you don't have to go to supplements, but they have a purpose and they have a place. Number 4, exercise. Now, beyond physical exercise, which improves your neuroplasticity, that's a mouthful, neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to learn something new. If we were to picture it, it's how flexible is your brain. And physical exercise does just that. It keeps your brain flexible and young. But not only that, it also lights up different parts of your brain when you do physical movement, because the same part of your brain that controls memory, hippocampus, controls body movement. Now, you don't have to be a scientist to understand, oh, wait a minute, the same part of my brain that controls my memories controls my physical movement. So if I was to move more, that part of my brain would get stronger. It would light up more. Okay, well, I could see the results of how it could improve my memory, as it also controls that. Now, of course, that's a very simplified version of the results. And I really hope everyone doesn't just take my word, but they can go away and do your own research as well. Next, writing. Contradictory as it may be, a memory coach telling you to write things down, but this helps avoid decision fatigue. People like Barack Obama, who wore the same suit throughout his different terms. Mark Zuckerberg, you may have heard stories that he wears the same shirt. Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, lives in the same house. These outliers, they live by habits. They are creatures of habits. And by writing things down, you save cognitive energy having to remember information. We all have a capacity of cognitive energy in a day. So I really do encourage you that if you can, write down what you need to remember. There's also a lot of science to show that when you write something down, you remember more. That will be for the sixth talk. Clean environment. Now, ladies, when you see mess, you get a physiological response called stress. It's real. Your cortisol levels go through the roof when you see physical mess. That's why us men, we have observational blindness. So fellas, if your lady is having a go at you, you can say, well, Jordan told me I have observational blindness. It's a real problem. It is. Now, not to say that you can't work on that, but as men, we can look in an environment and we can overlook mess. I feel like there's a lot of women being like, yes, yes, you can. Now, with that in mind, although studies have shown that men cortisol levels don't increase as much as women, the studies are there, the science is there, that if you have a messy desk, it's a reflection of your internal environment. Your external environment is a reflection of your internal environment. And often, the reason why you struggle to remember is because you struggle to focus. And if you have a cluttered desk, cluttered environment, you will get distracted. I try and make it a habit. End of the day, clean up my virtual desktop, clear up my physical space, because it does lower your cortisol levels, whether you're a man or woman. Number 7, we're nearly there, hang in there, and then we're going to remember these. Sleep. Now, we've all heard 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 20 hours is what you need. And the more you read into how many hours you should get, the more anxiety you feel because you're getting too much or you're not getting enough. The simple and quick answer is you need to find out what works for you. Everyone has an internal clock called a circadian rhythm. There's humans that walk among us that only need 4 hours sleep. There's others that need 12. Now, the number one way that you can find this out is experiment. I love experimenting on myself. So if you can, go to sleep when you're tired and wake up when your body wants to wake up with no alarm. Try and do this for 1 week. I know that might not be the best advice, especially as we all, of course, have things to do in the morning. But naturally, your body will find its own circadian rhythm and it will tell you when it needs to wake up. If you can't, there's some fantastic sleep apps online. A free one, no affiliation, as a disclaimer. It's called Sleep Cycle. I can't recommend enough sleep, because when we sleep, that's when our brains consolidate our memories. When we're awake, we acquire information. When we're asleep, we consolidate information. And when we wake up the following morning, we are able to retrieve it. But that final step, the retrieval, is predicated on how well those memories from the day before were consolidated. Sleep, as I'm sure we all know, not only is it vital for our own health and well-being, but it's the foundation of how our memories are built. If we go woo-woo for a second, the only reason you know who you are is because your memory. When you wake up in the morning, Joe Glover knows he's Joe Glover because his memory told him to. His memory told him to come on here and be a lovely chap and send love, like in abundance, which I don't know another human that does this. But Joe wakes up, hopefully most mornings, remembering who he is. Now, just for a moment, think how fragile our memories are, that if for a moment Joe couldn't remember he was a nice guy, it will happen. I know it sounds horrible, but it will happen. You will start to have fragments of your memory disappear, and you'll slowly forget who you are and who you aren't. One way to do that is to improve your sleep early now, so you don't pay for it down the line, because it will be too late by then. I hope not, but Elon Musk's little chip might help us. On more of a positive note, brain protection, beyond concussions, our little phones, wherever they are, wherever mine is, you want to be putting that on airplane mode at night, or at least away from you. Because when we have our phones on, they send electronic magnetic waves, EMWs. And these EMWs, electronic magnetic waves, they disrupt our sleep pattern. So much so that having your phone and your pillow in the same room can drastically affect the quality of your sleep. But by putting it on airplane mode or further away from you, you'll slowly notice you have deeper sleeps and you wake up more refreshed. So take that into consideration. 2 more. Number 9, new learnings. Learning something new, activating different parts of your brain, because if you don't use it, you will lose it. And finally, stress management. I've already hinted at this already, the impact and implications stress can have on our processing ability to do the right thing, whatever that may be. So think beyond when stress occurs, because prevention is better than cure. Find time for yourself. I love solo hammock camping. That's my stress management. Negotiate with yourself. What do you want to reduce your stress? And how are we going to remember these 10 things? We're going to use 10 body parts. 10 body parts that are on your body. And you're probably now seeing these words come full cycle from the beginning. Because we're going to go from the top of your head all the way down to your kneecaps. So here we go. A new memory test. Now on this memory test, actually, before we do this, Joe, are there any questions that are relevant at this point? I can see there's 89 messages. I'll save the chat so I can come to them later on.
Yeah, there's 2 that I've written down in particular.
Now.
There's one from Emma who says that her phone stays downstairs, but her husband brings his tech upstairs to the bedroom. So is it almost like passive smoking, in a sense that like Emma will be getting the byproduct of her husband's tech being brought into the room?
Well, you know, as your trusted memory coach, I would say to get rid of your husband and find another man that doesn't take his phone to the bedroom. But of course, that might not be practical. So what I would suggest is have a conversation with him. Because yeah, you're spot on. I've never even thought of it like that. after 20 years, I'm not sure. Get rid of him. Oh my, Emma, I'm so sorry. I'm glad I brought some laughter this morning. But I thought about this as well, interestingly, Emma, a couple of days ago. My partner, she brings her phone, she puts it under her pillow. And you're right. It is like passive smoking. It's going to have the same effect. It really is. So have that difficult conversation with him about putting it on airplane mode, or at least turning the Wi-Fi off. The Wi-Fi, I don't want to scare anyone, is the real killer. I use that word loosely, okay? Having your Wi-Fi turned on, especially now since we've been in lockdown, not to scare anyone, the frequencies around the UK have been tenfolded. So that's one thing. If you can't put it on airplane mode, because I know that's not reasonable for everyone, get him to turn the Wi-Fi off. So I hope that helps. And I know, yeah, it does annoy you because he sleeps well. It's always those people who can leave the TV on and they sleep the best.
100%. So there's a question from Alison who says, is it better to sleep in the dark when the curtains are drawn or open to wake with the light?
Oh, fantastic. So I don't quite understand the question there, because it sounds like, is it best to sleep with the curtains open or shut?
Yeah, basically. So like, is it better to wake up naturally in the dark or wake up naturally with sort of sunrise, sunset type of stuff?
Oh, understood. So number one, if you're a super geek, get yourself some blacked out curtains if they fit with the interior design. That's a massive negotiation with my partner. About £20 on Amazon, blacked out curtains, keep your room warm when it's cold, keep it cold when it's hot. It keeps it dark. The darker, the better. The cooler, the better. When it comes to waking up, the first thing in the morning you want to do, you haven't drunk for 8 hours, arguably, if you slept 8 hours, your body is massively dehydrated. Try going 8 hours without a drink during the day. You will not do well. So first thing you need to do is grab, ideally, some water and get hydrated. Next, nothing can replace real melatonin from the sun. So definitely sun, if you can, expose yourself to that. Otherwise, yeah, a device, but you want to expose your eyes, your receptors, to some light straight away, because you're telling your internal clock it's sunrise. Just like cavemen and women, that's when we knew when to sleep and when to wake up. So I hope that answered the question.
That's perfect. We'll let you continue, and then there are some questions coming in, so we'll ask a few of those quickly at the end too. So
okay, awesome. So the memory test, we're going to use a technique called the Loci Method. Please take note of this. Again, don't take my word as the Bible. Do your own research, and the way I say it might not land with you. Then you hear it from somewhere else, you're like, the penny drops. Loci is Latin for location, otherwise known as the memory palace. Probably familiar with this from Sherlock Holmes. He made this famous. So what we're going to do in just a moment is I'm going to ask you to trust me and shut your eyes. You're going to just follow my voice and visualize the images of the habits, and you're going to link them to the relevant body part. When we're finished, I want you to write them down, and we'll see how much you remember. Joe's already a step ahead of me. So with that being said, we're going to start the exercise now. So if everyone wants to shut their eyes for me, and it does work best if you shut your eyes. So the first image I want us all to visualize is on the top of our head. It's a bowl of salad, and that's healthy eating. Top of our head, bowl of salad, maybe you're balancing it, and that's healthy eating. Next, it's our eyes. And I want you to visualize some ants eating at your eyes. Really try and visualize this as gory as possible. And this habit is reducing ants. Next, we come to our nose, and in our nostrils, we've got a couple of pills stuck in there. Those are those brain vitamins, and maybe you're trying to snort one out. Brain vitamins, nose, and they're stuck in our nose. Next, our mouth. In our mouth, it's quite sweaty because we've got a bodybuilder working out in our mouth. Doesn't have to be real, okay? Just try and visualize it. Visualize, maybe it's SpongeBob working out in your mouth. And you can taste the sweat in your mouth. That's exercise. We then come down to our neck, and on our neck, we have this awesome neck tattoo, really showing off your jawline. It's jawline you've always wanted. But now you've got a neck tattoo, and that stands for writing. So a quick review, top of our head, balancing a bowl of salad, healthy eating. Eyes, ants are eating our eyes, reducing ants. Pills in our nose, brain vitamins. SpongeBob, working out in your mouth, exercise. Now our neck, we have an awesome neck tattoo, that's writing. Okay, the next 5. On our shoulders, we're brushing off dandruff because we want a clean environment. On our chest, we have a newborn baby sleeping peacefully on our chest, and that's sleep. We then come to our stomach, and it looks like we're pregnant because we've just swallowed a helmet. Once again, no idea how that get in there, and that's brain protection. So picture yourself pregnant, and that's a helmet that you've just swallowed, brain protection. In our bum, we have a lot of books coming out of it, and that's new learnings. We'll try and keep it clean as possible. So new learnings, bum, loads of books flying out. And finally, we come to our knees, and we're doing the downward dog, and we're doing a yoga position to reduce our stress. So picture yourself bending your knees, extending your knees into a lovely yoga position, and you're reducing your stress. Keep your eyes shut for just a moment and just go through your memory palace from the top of your head all the way down to your knees. The body part, the image, and the habit. When you're ready, open your eyes and write down 3 things 10 times. So I'll give everyone the first one. The body part, top of your head. The visual image, salad bowl. Third thing is the habit, that's healthy eating. Work your way down your body. Top of your head all the way down to your knees. Don't panic. If you can't remember one, move on. Trust your memory. And if you're really stuck, try and think, okay, what was happening before? Okay, what was going on with that body part? If that doesn't work, shut your eyes again and walk yourself through your memory palace. So at the end, we want 30 things. So all 10 body parts, all 10 of your visual images, whatever they may be, and then the 10 habits that you've connected them with. And as always, when you're finished, type a 1 in the chat to let me know you're done. Fantastic, we've got some ones coming in. Okay, quite a few ones coming. Are you one of them, Joe? You are indeed. How many do you reckon you got this time, buddy?
I reckon 20.
Ooh, 20. Okay, and did you get 16 out of 16 last time?
I got 15 out of 16 last time. So,
Okay.
so what's that? 25%. 33%. My maths isn't good.
Wow, I was not judging. Monica, don't give it away. Don't give it away. I feel like a lot of people are like, yes, that one. The knees. It's fine, Monica, don't worry. Oh, got all of them. I want to hope I'm saying her name, Nayela. I hope I'm saying that right. Probably butchered that. Nelly.
Nelly. Okay.
Nelly. Nayela, I tried to put some finesse onto that. Right then, so I'm conscious of time. I'm happy to stay later. Joe, I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do our best to work through the questions as quickly as possible, just to be respectful.
Yeah, brilliant, of course, because I'm respectful of everyone's time. So we'll finish the presentation by past. But if you're happy to stay, I'll answer questions till the cows come home. So brilliant. Hopefully you've remembered all 30. And if not, hopefully all the ones you have remembered are spot on. So we'll start with our body parts first. So mark yourself now with the body parts. These were the 10 body parts. So if you think you're all of them, let's make sure we're starting on a good foot. Pardon the pun again. So top of the head, eyes, nose, mouth, neck, shoulders, chest, belly, bum, knees. How are you doing so far, Joe?
I got 9 out of 10 on that.
Nice work. Nice work. Okay, now, depending on how many body parts you got, will now relate to how many of the visual images you got. So these were the ones, of course, I gave you. So let's see. Again, this one, you don't have to get my visual images. You know, you may have slightly put your own twist on it. You know, for sleep, you might have put a pillow on your chest. So I'll give you that. You know, for new learnings, you might have had something else other than books flying out your bum. So 10 visual images. So that's balancing salad, ants eating your eyes, sniffing brain pills, sweat, tattoo, dandruff, baby asleep, swallowed helmet, books flying out, and yoga. And finally, the 10 habits. These were the most important thing. And although born pieces of information, hopefully you've attached them to funny, gory, visual images. And in order. So Joe, having checked your scores, how did we do this time?
Yeah, so all 20 were correct. I missed out quite a lot of the middle set. So I remembered the habit and the body part, but I didn't necessarily remember the middle bit, which I think is
and the visual images, you'll get faster.
Yeah.
The more you do this. So it's really good that I've got you to work with, because everyone else will experience that. They would have got caught up trying to create the perfect image, and I'm already on to the next one.
There's a lot of quite amazing scores coming in, so I'm feeling very inferior this morning.
There you go. Joe set the bar low. 28, 28. Went from 8 to 25. Yes, Laura. Wow, that's awesome. I don't think I've seen anything below 20. Apart from you, Joe. 15 to 30. Wow. Honestly,
I'm happy to be that guy.
I can't stop smiling. I wish we were in person. I was telling Joe that this just isn't the same. You know, I love people and I love bouncing off everyone. I'm really so happy, because I know the real feeling everyone's feeling right now is like, wow, you've seen a transformation right now. Arguably, it's only been within an hour, The work doesn't stop here. Okay, like anything, improving your memory, it's a habit. And you need to look, how can you incorporate it into your lifestyle? So as we're running over time now, it comes perfectly to the one last thing I'd love for everyone to remember before we go to Q&A, if you're happy to stay over time. And the one last thing I'd love for us all to remember is no one has a bad memory. And hopefully you've proven it to yourself today. I don't have to tell you that no more. Okay, you've seen within 1 hour, you can go from 10 to 30 pieces of information. That's from 1 hour session. So just think what results you could see. If you were to just take a little bit more time and research, it doesn't have to be my work, but find out more about memory training and how you can use it daily to remember more names, important dates, because it will transform your life. You just need to know how to apply it. And the last thing I'd like to finish off with is the person that changed my life was my mother. And she got to see her life goal, seeing me go to uni, never use my degree, but seeing me finish uni, start my own business, and teach people how to learn anything faster. So thank you so much for your time, everyone. My team and I are transforming the way the world learns, and I love having a conversation. Hopefully you can tell. So if you want to connect with myself, you can keep it formal and email me. Connect with me on Instagram, or I love LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is just my name, Jordan Harry. And for now, Joe, I'll hand back to you, and I'm excited to go through the chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much, mate. I mean,
Welcome, everyone.
James made a really good point here. He said, as much as it's not the same as being in person, you have made the chat bounce for the duration of the session. So, you know, I certainly think everyone's got an awful lot from it. So thank you very much. We'll go through the questions. There's 4 main ones that we'll take right now. There are a bunch more coming in, so we'll potentially find a way to answer these, unless you want to do a quick fire round, Jordan.
Yeah, I'll keep them short, sharp, to the point.
Wicked. All right, that sounds great. And folks, just before we do that, don't forget that you can get access to Jordan's courses if you tag both he and I into a post on LinkedIn, just saying that you are on the call or you enjoyed it, and we'll pick a winner from those folks. With that in mind, let's get to the Q&A and let's do it as a quick fire. So we've got the first question from an anonymous attendee who says, what do you suggest about wearing smartwatches when sleeping?
Ooh, you know, that's an interesting one. I've never been asked before. I would only have to fall back onto what I already know already, which is the signal it's able to receive and send. So smartwatches, I would confidently say, fall into the same bracket as any other electronic device. So yeah, keep it far away, turn the Wi-Fi off.
That's perfect. Sweet. Question from Nisha, who says, I work with a lot of clients who struggle to give new meaning or reframe past experiences, and so keep on getting hijacked by their fight or flight. This stress affects their brain health and memory. Any tips on how to manage that better? So I guess here we're also looking at like how we manage that in other people who may not have had the benefit of this session.
Of course, and you know, I'd love to give a very quick answer. And I guess with the time restrictions, stress management is key. It sounds like you're working with clients as a practitioner. So my advice would be looking at stress management first. Because the number one thing that jeopardizes your memory is you'll get a parking ticket, you'll hit the wall when you break your hand. You know that's a dumb thing to do, but when you were stressed, well, you weren't thinking straight. None of us do. You know, we'll send an email, we'll leave the condition tag in. I've done it, Joe. It's the first email I ever sent. And afterwards, you don't know what the heck to do, right? So we really need to look at managing stress better in our lives, and the rest will fall into place. So I hope that somehow helps.
Absolutely. Good man. So we got a question from Claire. So we've given, over the course of this session, we've had the opportunity to use a a specific memory exercise and sort of look to improve the results there. And you've also given us those 10 tips, which I think will be very, very useful for practical implementation. With the memory exercise, is there a way to bring that into our real life and work? So presumably it's the memory palace and using that, but maybe you could give an example of how people do use it in day-to-day work.
That, again, I wish there was a quicker, more definitive answer I could give, because when we talk about work, well, we could talk about reading emails, and we could talk about speed reading your emails, and we could talk about how to read a report 10 minutes before the meeting and remember the key points, or remembering the entire office's names. The 3 principles of memory are very simple, and this is where you can apply them, hopefully, throughout your life. Number 1 is association. So you need to be able to associate that new information to something you already know. Number 2 is visual images. We're visual creatures. You know, I will see Joe, and I'll never say, oh, I've forgotten his face, but I remember his name. No one says that. We all say, oh, I remember the face, but I've forgotten the name. We are visual creatures. And a name just isn't visual, unless we make it. And the final one is repetition. Remembering names, using the name in a conversation. And there's a great study that says if you can remember something 5 times over a period of time, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. Those 5 are immediately after. So after you meet someone, say their name on the way out. Hey, nice meeting you, Joe. 24 hours, I'll then connect with Joe on LinkedIn. So again, his name's front of mind. And as marketers, we can use this to our advantage, right? So straight after, 24 hours, 1 week later. So 1 week later, I need to see Joe's name appear on my feed, or else I'll forget who Joe is. Okay, this is key for marketing. The 4th time is 3 to 6 months further down the line. So again, if I don't see Joe's name appear somewhere, I'm going to forget him and I'm going to forget what he does. And the final one, the 5th one, is if I see or I remember Joe's name 6 months down the line. Now, if I see Joe's name 6 months later from this moment, chances are I'll remember it for the rest of my life. So as marketers, if we can use that rule of 5 immediately after, 24 hours, 1 week, 3 to 6 months, the jury's still out on that one. And then finally 6 months plus, the individual, the consumer, is likely to remember it for the rest of their life.
Interesting. Nice, that's awesome. That's really, really, really interesting and useful. I wish we had the time to go into that. So anyway, next question. What are your thoughts on memory/brain training apps?
So I think there are some fantastic ones. And of course, the only deviation is the quality of their methods. The number one I love to use is a tool called Anki. It's a free tool. I'm big on free things and affordable things. So Anki is spelled ANKI. I'll put it in the chat, along with the supplements company I use and mentioned. So Anki, it uses a flashcard system. Duolingo used the same algorithm of spaced repetition, showing you the word, the information, just as you're about to forget it, which is all done this big equation and calculation based on you got the answer right 3 days ago, so we're going to show it again to you. If you get it right, we'll show it to you in 3 weeks. If you get it wrong, we're going to show it to you tomorrow. If you get it right, we'll show it to you again in 3 days. So apps have some incredible features to assist forgetfulness. So yeah, I'm a big advocate for them.
Love that. Sweet. And maybe we'll go for the last one here from Connor, who says that he can remember things from ages ago. For example, he can literally, well, he says he can remember times being pushed in a pram when he was a baby.
Wow.
Yeah, that's impressive. But at times he struggles to remember conversations that he's had 24 hours ago. He asks, is there a reason for that? And I guess there's the way that we can also be useful here is also recommend a way to make sure that we do remember those conversations that we want to.
Awesome. This is powerful. So I always love using this example that you never forget the name of someone attractive, or if you think they could give you a job promotion. The reason why is because they're important. So Connor, if you're still in the chat, let me know just by saying, hey, I'm still here. I can speak to you. Whilst Connor potentially is typing. Oh, there he is. Excellent. So Connor, the reason for that is because we have different types of long-term memory. The one I'll talk about now is episodic. So everyone else listening, episodic, and you can remember it as episode. Episodic memory refers to memories with emotions attached. So Connor, just simple yes or no. Do you remember where you were when 9/11 happened? Yeah. Have you ever had a car crash, Connor? Yes or no? If you're happy to share. Or been involved in one? Okay, no. Okay, not the best example there. But with the 9/11 one, you remember where you were. You probably remember who you were with. But Connor, if I was to ask you, what did you have for dinner 3 nights ago? Could you do that? I was looking at the chat now. Oh, sad face, no. And there's nothing to be ashamed to, right? Because Joe probably doesn't remember what he had for dinner 3 days ago. And guess what? Nor do I. Memory coach. Memory coaches, we forget things as well. The reason why Connor doesn't remember what he had for dinner 3 nights ago, but he remembers 9/11, is because there was more emotion attached to that event, regardless if it's pain, pleasure, as opposed to the dinner he had 3 nights ago. Now, Connor could have said, yes, I do, because it was my sister's wedding and da-da-da-da. But that would have been an emotional event, an experience. So how can we remember a conversation, say we had 24 hours ago? We need to be present. And it's not my job to tell you what conversations are important and what to remember. You'll have to decide for yourself. It's just like when those automatic negative thoughts come to mind, Connor, you need to acknowledge this is an important situation. You need to work with your brain. You need to take your brain, this is really important. Maybe use a cue word, like, this is important, pay attention. Some people name their brain, I love this. Making this a game, using cue words to actually activate, big word alert. I'm so sorry, I tried to avoid all this. It's called your reticular activation system. If you're still with us, you're about to get the golden gems now. Don't ask me to spell it either. Reticular activation system, your RAS. And it's responsible for filtering the noise around us. So if I asked Joe how many green things are in his room right now, he probably couldn't tell me off the top of his head.
Cool.
But if he looks around, it will then tell me there's 4, 5. But those green things were always there. They haven't just suddenly appeared. But because I've told Joe to look for the green things, just like don't think about a purple cow, right? We've all heard this, Seth Godin. All you think about is a purple cow. Because our brain can't filter out obsolete words like don't. We can only pick up on visual cues. So if you want to name your brain, do so. It will pay attention. If you think the conversation is important, tell your reticular activation system, pay attention, this is important, all hands on deck. And guess what? Hopefully your brain will pay attention. But apart from that, try to add more emotions to important piece of information. Big brain time, I love that. Not bad saying that. Oh, I love that. So I hope that helped, Connor, at least to explain why you remember things like when you were being pushed in a pram and not a conversation you had yesterday, because that conversation was probably boring.
That's wicked. And we got a lovely comment here which says, Jordan, you're amazing. This is the best webinar I've attended in 2020, and I've attended tens and tens this year.
Wow.
So look at that. Folks, I think we're going to call it there. There are some questions left over. I've made a point of copying and pasting them, so Jordan will have it as part of his content marketing for the rest of time, one would think. Do make sure to follow him on wherever, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram.
And ask me them on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll make it my mission to get through all my messages. So
That's wicked. Thank you, mate. And thank you everyone for being here as well and engaging in the chat. Like, this is wicked. To be able to have this interaction. I mean, debatably, this is even more interaction than you get in person sometimes. So it's awesome to have that. So thank you all for being here. Don't forget to tag on the LinkedIn post. We'll pick the winner in the next day or so. So if we put a limit on it in like the next 24 hours or something like that, so folks have got that opportunity. Thank you, Jordan. You're a marvel of a man. So much respect, and I think you spent your time making things easy for us today. But that's also the mark of a true master who can make things easy. Hard things sound easy, so I appreciate that. Please do take the time to thank the sponsors, everyone. There's 72 people left in the chat right now. So like if 72 messages went to the sponsors today, that would be like, it would blow their mind, and they would absolutely just say, what an amazing community this is, like they already do. So please do that. Otherwise, have an amazing Tuesday, everyone. Have an amazing week. So grateful for every one of you, and so grateful for Jordan as well. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.
Ciao for now. Have a magical day, everyone.
Take care.